This television is a portal to the past. Inside sit the dreams of one's youth and the fears of one's future. When imagination equates to a certain period of time and limits are left behind. The practical and the impossible cross over during those fleeting hours known as the Twilight-Tober Zone.
My name is Tacoma Narrows. I am the writer for Demo Reel. I came across Donnie, and I thought, what better way to break into the industry? True, a lot of times it doesn't go with my ideas. In fact, what I originally put down...
Mr. Malcolm Ray, a man blessed with what one may call golden pipes, currently taking a one-car trip down memory lane. But if Mr. Ray knew where this particular lane led, he'd throw it in reverse and never look back.
Hey, we just wrapped up. I'm gonna head out. You mind closing up?
Sure. Just gonna finish watching this really quick.
What you watching?
Demo reel.
Why?
Well, it's been almost a decade since we made it, you know? Feeling a little nostalgic, I guess.
Is that a joke?
Oh, no. I was just saying that it's been almost 10 years since I joined the crew.
Because nostalgia's my thing.
I know,
Just lock up when you leave.
Product, but that's Donnie's direction, and I respect him as an artist.
Malcolm. It's been said that the past can come back to haunt us, but as Mr. Malcolm Ray is about to find out, his past has a more sinister agenda. For each step he takes brings him ever closer to the threshold of the Twilight-Tober Zone. The After Hours is one of the creepiest episodes of the Twilight Zone that I can remember. The concept of mannequins coming to life is something I think a lot of people have imagined as kids or even later in life. I know I have. The execution of this one is where it shines most. Director Douglas Hayes was back, and he made full use of the bigger-than-usual set they were able to work in. Cinematographer George T. Clemens utilized a lot of different techniques to bring forth the feeling of paranoia and fear that was at the center of this episode. Anne Francis plays the lead in the After Hours, and she is a real standout, not just among the female protagonists in the series, but of any main character the show had to offer. There was a confidence and self-assuredness to her portrayal that made where this story went all the more tragic. Francis was a pretty big star at the time, and even acted in the Twilight Zone's favorite movie, Forbidden Planet. She did return to the series one more time in Season 4's Jess Bell, which was a vast departure from her role here. This is one of those episodes that was just firing on all cylinders. Let's explore why. Marcia White is searching the department store for a gift to give her mother, specifically a gold thimble. When a separate elevator opens near her, she's invited inside by the operator and taken to the 9th floor. The doors open to reveal an emptied space with no merchandise. That is, except for one peculiar woman who sells Marcia the thimble she's looking for and knows her name without White telling her. Marcia leaves confused and quickly notices scratches and dents on the thimble. When she informs the store managers about her encounter, she's told there is no 9th floor in the building. Flustered, she passes out in the office area and wakes up to discover the store closed and everyone gone. What follows is an experience straight out of a nightmare. Douglas Hayes directed one of my favorite episodes of this show, Elegy, from earlier in the first season. I reviewed it last year, and that installment, much like this one, still holds up. Hayes helmed 9 episodes in total, with even more classics that we'll get to soon, but I think the After Hours really has a tone and atmosphere all its own. The way everything is shot and lit with an absence of music in some of the most suspenseful scenes helped make this one a choice pick of many fans. While Anne Francis leads the cast brilliantly, she's not the only actor who shines in this installment. Elizabeth Allen has the perfect amount of mystery and apathy that ups the intrigue of the story. The same can be said about John Conwell as the elevator attendant. James Milholland brought a lighter comedic approach to an otherwise very serious episode as Mr. Armbruster. The levity was appreciated. He was a well-known comedic actor who specialized in some almost cartoonish body language and facial expressions. He would appear in 2 more Twilight Zone episodes following this one. Most everything else I have to say about the After Hours is a spoiler, so I'd encourage you to watch the episode if you can before hearing the rest of my thoughts. It's a twist I didn't really see coming the first time I viewed it. Upon being left in the store alone, the mannequins start calling Marcia's name and even seem to be moving. Freaked out, she ends up in the elevator alone that leads once again to the elusive 9th floor. Once there, all the mannequins, including one resembling the saleswoman from earlier, come to life. Slowly, she's reminded that she's actually one of them, a mannequin herself. They all take turns living among humans for 30 days at a time. Marcia had been so comfortable in her role as a real person that she had forgotten what she really was. The nameless mannequin who sold her the thimble then departs as it's her turn to venture out into the real world. This leaves Marcia to somberly transform back into her true state. And the next day, Mr. Armbruster sees a mannequin that looks exactly like Marcia on the sales floor. He shakes off an eerie feeling as Rod's narration kicks in and the episode ends. Maybe not a completely unexpected twist, but it still hits hard. What sells it is Anne Francis's superb acting. We had seen her so sure of herself earlier in the episode that when we have to watch her resign to the sad truth, it creates an enormous amount of sympathy. It was Francis's idea to have Marcia slowly revert to her rigid pose and have her once prominent emotions fall away. The rest of the mannequin characters were played as cold to exemplify their lack of humanity. The climactic sequence that leads to this realization is extraordinarily creepy. It starts with the anticipatory silence of the empty store and slowly ramps up. One of my favorite shots in the episode is when we see Marcia trying to leave the locked floor. She earnestly asks for help as we see her distorted image through the pebbled glass windows. Then the voices start.
Marcia, you remember Marcia?
Climb off it. Come on, dear. Marcia.
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 That's chilling stuff. Her reaction to all that comes off as more believable than some other episodes where the main character goes mad or just loses it. The confident exterior that we watch through the whole episode is peeled away as she turns into a frightened, terrified, and confused mess. It's great work. That big reveal shot at the 9th floor still gets a reaction from me too. The music finally kicks in there and later changes to solemn tones that start to reveal the real tragedy of this story. They use the trick of switching out the mannequin and the actor in the elevator, which is just perfect. They did that a few other times too, and it always worked remarkably well. Those 3 mannequins of the actors were accomplished by using a face cast and creating a head, mounted on the model bodies. Credit to William Tuttle, the very talented head of the makeup department who we've mentioned in this series before, and his assistant Charles H. Schramm for the life casts and making these doubles look just realistic enough. This was definitely the way to go, but producer Buck Houghton wasn't so sure at first. Originally, they thought of just having the actors strike frozen poses or covering their faces in wax, but I think most of us can agree they came to the correct conclusion with Tuttle and Schramm's Uncanny Valley dummies. This was another great script from Rod Serling that was brought to its full potential by the cast and crew. In Mark Zickery's The Twilight Zone companion book, he theorizes that this episode was influenced by the John Collier short story Evening Primrose. In that story, a department store and living mannequins both play large roles. But regardless of its influences, this one plays off basic illogical fears and leads to very realistic allegories. Self-doubt, leaving one's home or family, or even trying to achieve more than your peers think you can, while in the end being dragged back down to that perceived reality, all add up to the After Hours, equating to a horrifying, layered tale. So I guess it's a slightly better mannequin story than A Mom for Christmas, but it is close.
Doug? Tamara? Malcolm. Malcolm. Malcolm.
Older versions of ourselves never truly leave us. Try as we might to destroy them, they always survive in some dark back alley of our psyche. And if we're not cautious, they can take hold once more, claw to the surface and snatch the reins from our hands. It's a hard lesson to learn, but one that's taught every day in the Twilight-Tober Zone.